everybody, it is Romania Black, and we are on Cherry Magic episode 2, and it feels so good to be watching a BL week to week. We're going to talk about it, but it's been a while, and so I'm kind of excited. I was like, not only do we get a romance, but we get a legit BL. We're not being queer baited. It's like, okay, we're doing the damn thing. So I'm like, I'm pretty excited by that, and I've got some comments from people on Patreon for episode 1 that I'm excited to talk to you all about. So, let's dive into those, shall we? First off, both Nicholas and Sunspots in episode 1 commented saying it's nice to see some long form BL on the channel again. Yes, y'all have asked for a long time to get stuff beyond Janu Yaoi, and there are definitely, I was talking with the moderator the other day, there are some long running BL series, like I know like Twilight Out of Focus is one. There's some like weird 90s sci-fi BL that I'm sure are problematic, but still that I'm very curious about. So I will be curious if people really support this series on the channel. I definitely would consider doing some more long running BL in the future to follow up with this. I know we have Word of Honor. I know we have Danmai, which is Chinese BL, but it would be good to get some more of that content on here anyway. So we'll see if this series does really well. I may just be like, well, we might have like another BL series follow up when something else gets up and being done. So we'll just see. We'll see. But I do agree. I think the last time I had a long running canon BL, like, we can talk all day about how some series are BL that won't admit it, but I think the last canon long-running BL that's been on this channel has been Given, which is one of the only ones. It's like Given and Banana Fish, which even then some people are like, Banana Fish, and I'm like, shut up, it is. So yeah, I think since the days of Given have we had a long-running canon BL series. I could be wrong. You all will probably correct me down in the comments if there's been another one since Given, but it's nice to have it back. Now, I do want to agree with Sunspots and Nicholas that they said it's also nice how we got different perspectives, including Kurosawa's internal monologue in some moments when Adachi wasn't touching him. I so agree with that because in other BL series that I've read, especially when the main character like Adachi is concerned that their potential love interest has nefarious thoughts or is not acting, accordingly, it is nice in this series to get that internal monologue from the other side. Adachi doesn't know, which is just going to amp up the angst, which is their intent. But we, the audience, will know that at the end of the day, Kurosawa is a nice person. He just is like anybody else. He's sexually attracted to Adachi and wants to get it on, but he's being, a decent person about it. So it's like, it's nice to see that perspective. So Anime Annie had, of course, a lot of things to comment about with this. I feel like such a dummy because the first thing they pointed out was Cherry Magic because he hasn't popped his cherry, and because of that, Adachi gets magical powers. I swear to you, I'm an English teacher. I should notice that, but I'm off duty. So yeah, right? Oh my gosh. But yeah, so he's, gets magic powers. It makes sense. The title all adds up, I always say I'm off duty. The grading papers has fizzled my brains. It's finals week. We're not going to talk about it. Anime Annie says, for me, the moment of Adachi worrying that Kurosawa will do something to him, but instead is just kind and gives him a scarf is a subtle commentary on the difference between fantasy and reality. In Kurosawa's mind, he can fantasize about Adachi and his feelings for him, but in real life, it is not okay to carry out those desires without Adachi's implicit consent. Thank you for saying that, because honestly, I'm not gonna lie with y'all. Y'all know, if you've been on this channel, the last several months have featured series where implied consent, what's that, has been kind of thrown out the window. And it has been frustrating when there's been a lot of defenders of those moments being like, well, but, and I'm like, no, there is a difference. Like, I love how realistic this show is with saying you can think about it all you want, but in the real life situation, you don't act on those impulses or those thoughts. You treat someone kindly and respectfully until they give you implied consent and implicit consent. And then if you want to love on them, sure. But until that moment that they are like, yep, I'm gung-ho, you don't get to act on it. And there's no excuse. And it just is very refreshing because I've been bitching in other shows about that happening and people being okay with it. And I'm like, no, that's not okay. And so it's good to see that Kurosawa is someone in control of their impulses until Adachi says that it's okay. So that was such a vindicating moment. So I'm like, yes, thank you, Anime Annie. The ending is sung by our two main voice actors, or Seiyu, by the way, which is super cute. I love that. I wondered if that was the case because in a lot of BL, especially like audio dramas, they have the actors singing or doing the songs, which is fun. Anime Annie says a small correction for the fantasy moment with the multiple Adachis in Kurosawa's head. There is writing at the bottom of the screen that says fantasies over a certain number of words are expressed as images. So in that moment, Kurosawa's brain went on overdrive with the Adachi fantasies, and the images shown are what Adachi saw inside of Kurosawa's head. That was the only part of the last episode that I was like, okay, because it makes sense for Adachi to hear the thoughts of others when they touch them. I don't know if it makes much sense for Adachi to see visuals of the fantasies. That part is kind of skirting along the logistics of the power, but they're magic powers, so, you know, what do I know? But it's still like, you're towing the line with what you can get away with. So, I don't know. It's fine, but I kind of would have preferred for Adachi to have not seen what was in Kurosawa's head, because then he goes, why are you saying your name over and over again? So to me, that showed that Adachi didn't know what he was seeing. He was just hearing Kurosawa say his name over and over, and he's like, why are you saying that? So I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Who knows? It doesn't matter at this point, but that was interesting. And then Anime Annie says, all I will say about Mr. Glasses, thank you for not spoiling, we'll find out about him, I'm sure, is his Seiyu is Furukawa Makoto, who is the same voice actor for Kendaichi from Haikyuu, Sherlock from Moriarty the Patriot, all right, Shorter from Banana Fish, okay, Third Wheel Central, as far as that goes, Taiju from Dr. Stone, and Ear from Vinland Saga, which I have a lot of people ask me about Dr. Stone. My brother was really into Dr. Stone, and so during the start of COVID's lockdown, before I started my channel, I did read the manga Dr. Stone. So I'm not going to be doing a reaction of it anytime soon, because I've read the manga, I know what happens, but it is fun. It's a good fun. You know, Sinju and Gin are fun, but yeah, Taiju, interesting. So yeah, so thank you, Anime Annie. And finally, our last comment, I know this is a long intro, but Be Happy for episode 1 says it's somehow a myth or grandmother's tale, we call them old wives' tales in this area, used in fiction that remaining a virgin until your 30s can grant you unusual abilities. Well, I should be levitating. And I'm very upset that I don't have powers. So, whatever. I'm waiting for my abilities to kick in. Kurosawa is so sweet. I like that the series shows that no matter how much he loves and fantasizes about Adachi in his head, well, not entirely as Adachi can hear them, his actions remain respectful and he never crosses a line, which makes me like him an awful lot. And yes, that does, you know, we talked about this last week. It is very realistic that when you like somebody, you do kind of think about things of maybe what you'd want to do with them, but you don't act on them because that's being a respectful person. And if that person doesn't share that same feeling, then it would be super awkward. So yeah, I'm really glad that you all talked about that, and I'm super excited for this episode. We only have like 12 episodes, but last week was like an emotional roller coaster. It was funny and it was heartwarming, and then it was like angst. So I'm like, just what you expect from a BL, right? So anyway, we're not gonna waste any more time. We're gonna dive into Cherry Magic episode 2, and we're gonna do that here in 3, 2, 1, and let's go. Oh. This episode is so good. This episode is so good. Oh, we're only on episode 2, and we've gotten into places that I thought we weren't going to get into until like 7 or 8. So I'm not going to say no. I'm not going to say no to that. So, oh man, I want to go through this episode because this episode is very interesting. Very interesting. Especially with Tsuge. Tsuge is our Megumi-chan. Tsuge is quite a flawed individual, and just noting that from the first conversation we've had with him, I'm like, wait, what? So, okay. All right. I want to dive through this, and kind of break down Suge's character. Again, I didn't bring White Raccoon out this time, but it's getting more and more close to bringing him out. But yeah, so Tsuge has this apartment, which, for the record, where does this man sleep? Because for an apartment, either this is a quite larger apartment than normal, which if he's a novelist and a popular novelist, then he probably has decent money. He can afford it. But I'm kind of envious of the bookshelving. I've been in the process of getting bookshelving for this back wall because I've slowly gotten these 2 little bookshelves. Like the black bookshelves were given to me a long time ago for free, and I did buy this white bookshelf. But the more I develop this channel, I want kind of like what Tsuge has, and I just want like a back wall of books because I really like that. And then, but to get a bookshelf made in the US by hand is insanely expensive, and there is a benefit to having like actual wood versus the synthetic wood. I'm understanding of that. I know the pros and cons of both, but a real life, I was going to do it over Christmas break, and an actual bookshelf by a carpenter in my area was going to cost between $6,000 and $10,000 to get what I wanted. And I was like, that's freakishly expensive for a bookshelf. And so right now I've decided I'm just going to kind of compromise and do something cheaper, much, much, much cheaper, like a fraction of that. So, and then if I end up not liking it, then we'll go with that, whatever. But I'm very envious of Suge's bookshelving arrangement because I kind of want that. And I like that he has, what's interesting is he's like very stereotypically, he's a virgin, but he's read all the romance novels, so he knows all of the tropes. And I'm like, which romance books have you been reading? Because I'm not sure all of them are giving you great advice. So, right, and I'm like, are you a trashy novel writer? Are you doing like Pride and Prejudice? What are we doing? So he brings over like he brought in the little Tokiyami, which is like the little fish. Again, there are certain things that are kind of BL coded. Anytime I see geometric shapes now, I think of like Given, or I think of Sasaki and Miyano. When I see the little fish Tokiyami, I think of Engage, which is a BL series, and it's kind of centered around that food. So now I'm stuck on that. But yeah, he brings the treats, brings the beers over. Like I'm going to have with Yuhi Beer being our sponsored beer of the day. I'm going to have a conversation with my best friend from college about his ability. Now, my thing is, does Kurosawa and Tsuge, if they're both virgins, because Kurosawa, we're kind of up for debate on that in this episode. If Tsuge is a virgin, does he have telepathic abilities too, or does he have a different ability? Do they all get different magical powers once they're virgins and turn 30? Is this a cinematic, Marvel universe in the making? We don't know. We don't get confirmation on that, which is interesting. So Suge's like, oh, so this guy has a crush on you and you found that out. He's like, what are you talking about? Are you even sure? And I like that poor Adachi is like, no, I'm pretty sure, he's like, this is ridiculous. What's also ridiculous is that crotch shot where they put that beer right in front of his dick for us. So thank you, show. Virginity does terrifying things. And there's a lot that Tsuge says that I was like slowly waving tiny red flags going, I don't know, Adachi, if you should be getting advice from him because he seems like he's trying to lead you astray intentionally. Just saying, probably because he has a crush on you as well and just hasn't had the gall to admit it. So it's kind of like when you ask Taylor Swift for love advice through her songs. And it's like, girl, I've kind of fallen down the rabbit hole on YouTube lately. I don't get on TikTok, but I watch people analyze YouTube videos analyze TikToks and make YouTube videos out of it. So it's the weirdest thing. But I've recently got onto a kick where there's some like serial TikTok daters, and there's people on YouTube that analyze them and go like, what are you doing? And so there's this one that's like, should you be getting dating advice from someone that is a serial dater? I don't know about that, because if they keep on dating, then but it doesn't work out, that might say something for them. And so I'm like, the fact that he's a virgin, it's like blind leading the blind. But him saying virginity does terrifying things to a person when it lasts too long. I'm like, well, I mean, we could get into the scientific talk about that and libidos and all that, but I don't think that's what he's referring to. And I'm like, you're one to talk. You're a virgin too. So what has it done to you? What powers have you gained, sir? So then we have the intro, the OP, which I really love the OP. It's super cute. The OP and the ED are great. I love them. And I can't wait to meet these other characters. It's going to be a fun time. I can't wait to see Adachi and Kurosawa go out and do things together. That's going to be great too. But yeah, so Tsuge, we have the cat. I like Tsuge's cat sitting there. And so we have like a flurry of petals in Dawn Sky by Tsuge. Part 2. Oh, these are all his books. Oh, Goodbye Lily, Orange Milk and Chocolate, After the Spring Thunder. These are all his books. Oh my goodness. Okay. I don't know. And then Monogram. I don't know what to make of this man and his romance novels. I'm like, are these all smutty or what we doing? So yeah. So he's sitting there. You're a romance novelist, Tsuge. You seem like you've had a lot of experience. So again, the funny thing is that Adachi goes to his college friend for advice because he thinks he's had a lot of personal experience, because how could you write a novel about romance if you're not experienced yourself? And I'm like, have you been on AO3? I'd say there's about like half an internet that would disagree with you on that criteria being needed. So he talks about being like, you're the only person that I have to talk to. And I do feel for Tsuge, it's clear that he wants to maintain this relationship and friendship with Adachi. And of course, the prospect of a boyfriend coming in would alter that friendship. And that, you know, if you feel that Adachi has been dependent upon you and you're someone that likes people to be dependent on you, and suddenly that person's not available anymore, that would alter your perception and how you do things. So I get it to an extent, but some of the advice he gives, I'm like, ooh, I don't know about that. Because he's like, oh, well, magic nonsense aside, what's wrong with pretending not to know and allowing him to crush on you? Most of the things he says, I'm like, well, that would be something an asshole would do. Like when he's like, you could just pretend you don't know and let him like dote on you and buy you things. And I'm like, that's kind of taking advantage of his kindness. And that's kind of being deceptive. He's like, well, it sounds like he's being nice to you. Why not use it to your advantage? I'm like, well, that's taking advantage of someone and, you know, being kind of deceptive. And that's not a nice thing to do. And Adachi's like, well, I wouldn't do that. And then he says, well, why not? Women do it too. And I was like, hold on, sir. I'm like, I'm not saying that women don't do it, because they most certainly do. But so do men. Men very much take advantage of women just as much as women take advantage of men. So I'm like, sir, have you been scorned? Have you been turned down? Have you been taken advantage of? And now you think every woman does it? I'm like, you're giving some alpha bro vibes, and I'm not sure I'm having it, Tsuge. You're giving some vibes. I'm not sure I'm having them. But I was like, ooh, I don't know about that. Like, somebody give you a podcast? What we doing? So Adachi's like, well, maybe, but I couldn't do that. And I feel like this kind of ties maybe to some tropes in BL that is a reason I like BL, because societally in fiction, especially in romance fiction, there have been tropes with female characters about the femme fatale and, you know, about feminine wiles and women taking advantage of the male characters when it's not like true love or whatever. And one thing I've always liked about BL is, again, because the characters are of the same sex on the same level, there's not that stereotype because they're both on equal playing fields. And so instead, you have characters that have to rely upon other tropes or other means to express, you know, their characterization. And I like that about BL, right? Because you want that. He's like, I don't want to take advantage of his kindness. He's nice to me. He never makes a move because he knows it would make me uncomfortable, which we'll talk about this episode. He's like, I don't want to, I don't want him to be taken advantage of by me because that's not nice. He's like, I can't do that. Adachi's a real one. I like Adachi a lot. He's a sweetheart. And I relate to him a lot too. He's like, I would feel bad taking advantage of his feelings when they're genuine. He's like, I'm not like those girls you're thinking of. He's like, I can't do it. Which is probably why Tsuge is like, has a crush on him. Because he's like, you're not like the ladies that have scorned me and I've wrote novels about. And then he says, this is why you're unpopular. So he does the whole nice guys finish last. He's like, you're too earnest, too awkward, and too dense. Which there's a big discussion on the internet about like the alpha bro movement with Gen Z, and I'm a millennial, so it's a little different, but I very much can understand where it's coming from, because there's been a discord since I was younger about nice guys finishing last, which is not true at all. There are women that definitely love nice guys. There are women that like men that are doting and kind and that can be awkward and earnest. There's women that like that. That's fine. The thing is, you might just not have found that person that appreciates that, right? You just gotta look. And, there's somebody for everyone, but there is this mentality, I feel like, with men, especially in Western US culture, that you've got to be a certain standard to be attractive, which it goes both ways. There's a standard that a lot of women feel they have to be attractive as well. But the fact of the matter is that, no, my coworker, her husband, they just got married. He's an awkward, dorky gamer. And she's like, I like that he's really earnest and awkward and just like a gamer guy. She's like, I like that. Like, he works IT and she works with me at the school that I'm at. She's like, I kind of like that because he's super nice. And he like buys her flowers all the time and he gets her lots of gifts and he's super doting. She's like, I'm all about it. She's like, shower me with praise. So if you're a guy that's out there like that and you're trying to get with a lady, there's somebody out there that's going to appreciate that. So when he said this, I was like, oh, I don't want that nice guy conversation to get into Adachi's head, because Adachi's a sweetheart and that's why Kurosawa loves him. So then Adachi says, I have no idea what to do or what I should have done. He's like, that's why I came to you for advice. You're not giving me good advice. And now, I do agree that when Tsuge says he probably likes that about you, he likes your awkwardness. So I was like, okay, yeah, he probably likes that about him. He likes that he's awkward and cute, and he thinks that's really sweet that he doesn't know what to do. So he's like, well, then what am I supposed to do about that? So he says, instead of worrying about what you should do, maybe you should think about how you feel about him. That's honestly the best advice he gave this whole sit down, is like, you need to figure out, do you like this man? Are you attracted to him? Do you want to potentially be in a relationship with him? You need to think about that. Like what do you want out of this relationship? Do you just want to be friends? Do you not? Like, I think that the idea of exploring that possibility is really important. And one thing I do like that Tsuge does is Tsuge never questions his sexuality. Tsuge never says, are you gay, bro? Like, he doesn't ever do that, which I really appreciate. Tsuge is respectful in the sense that he doesn't question Adachi's sexuality. He doesn't say like, are you down for the D or whatever? He just lets Adachi, he's like, you need to figure that out. You need to figure out, do you want to be in a relationship with him or not? And if you do, well, then you go from there. So that part, I was like, yeah, that is a very good, respectful piece of advice. But then he follows up with it and saying, and if it's too much trouble, just get him to dislike you. And I was like, but that's not being honest. He gives this great piece of advice, and then he follows it up with like, oh, well, and if you decide that it's too much trouble to figure that out, just lead him astray. And I was like, or have a genuine conversation with him, Tsuge, Mr. Romance Novelist. What? I was like, no. Don't do that. I was like, oh my God. He's like, well, that's an idea. I was like, yes, playing hard to get has worked so well for dissuading men in the past. Mm-hmm. The worst part is, though, if he does play hard to get, it either is going to go one of two ways. Either Kurosawa is going to be kind of into that, which then Tsuge's advice is valid and it's okay. But then if he just makes Kurosawa feel like he's being a jerk or something, you're just going to make the situation worse and you're not going to be genuine. So when you do come out and be like, it's going to be like, she's all that or something. He's like, I made a bet with a friend. And it's going to be like, no, that's not proper communication and building a relationship. Aren't you a romance novelist, sir? Oh my God. And of course, Adachi thinks he's amazing. And I was like, I don't know if I would have asked for his advice. So the taiyaki, that's what it is. That's when he asks, and he's like, well, I'm surprised that he would ask me for advice. I didn't think this guy I thought was a forever alone virgin would ask me for romantic advice. Because, of course, I'm a virgin, too. And Adachi's like, why did I ask you for advice then if you have no idea? Oh, my God. I like this one girl that stopped in the middle of the road to be like, are you okay, bro? So the next day at work, I want to comment on two individuals that work at this workplace. One is the man with magenta glasses is the ultimate hype man behind the scenes in this series so far. At the bar, we'll talk about him, but at work, he is behind the scenes into the gossip. He was in the elevator when the Kabadan went down. Magenta glasses man is down for whatever is happening. He's so much fun to watch in the background. He's great. The other thing is every old man in this workplace is like, well, you two go get a room. I feel like every old man is like, it's so obvious you guys want a bone. Get out. Where's my office old man Yowie? Come on now. But yeah. So then we have the scene where, now here, before we get to the scene about the dessert thing, because that was great. The fact that Adachi asks the question and states, I bet he'd be really nice if we dated. At that point, you've already answered the sexuality question. And maybe Adachi already knew that he was attracted with men. But then he was questioning about the kiss and everything. But I'm like, the moment that you say, I bet it would be nice if we dated, you have confirmed your sexuality, whether you realize it or not. Like, you're basically open to the idea. You're okay with the idea. And you're considering it. I am on the asexual spectrum, but I am most certainly attracted to men. I have never looked at a woman and said, I'd be really nice if we dated. That's just not, my body just does not go that route. And that's fine. But it's like, if you open up that door, then it's like, yeah, Adachi, you've basically said that you're okay being in this relationship with him. Like, you've fantasized about it. I'm like, and honestly, I don't blame you. If a man like that was going to make me breakfast every day and dote on me, hell yes, I'd be on board with that. And then he had the moment where he imagined like getting pulled in to kiss him. And he's like, well, no. But I feel like part of that with Adachi is not that he's not attracted to Kurosawa, but that he feels it's not fair to think those impure thoughts about Kurosawa when he hasn't consented, even though we all know as the audience he would consent in a heartbeat. Adachi is a sweetheart and a nice guy and doesn't want to have those kind of thoughts. And I just love this old man's like, shut up, Adachi. This old man's like, your gay panic is disrupting my workflow. So yeah, then there's this bushy haired guy who needs to learn about a suit and tie combo, but that's neither here nor there. So yeah, and Kurosawa is just a nice guy. I feel like Kurosawa is the type of person that he just exudes golden retriever energy, and regardless of the situation, he's gonna be professional and a nice guy. So you know what you do. So then we have the scene with the man that is very rude. The CEO president, a part of me is like, who would act like this in real life? But then you think about real life and the people that are CEOs of major corporations and how they act in public. And then you're like, no, I guess that checks out. Because I was like, maybe it's the Midwest, the South Midwest upbringing that I've had, but I would never like get mad and close out a deal because someone didn't offer me a piece of strawberry shortcake. That just feels unprofessional. That feels rude. That feels a little much. If I wasn't feeling the deal, I'd just say I'm not feeling the deal. And then if they asked why, I'd be like, I'd offer justification. But the fact that this guy's justification was they weren't serving him sugar for his diabetic coma is a thing. It's a choice. In the words of Tatiana, choices. But I felt bad for this one girl Because at first I thought it was like her fault that things weren't going well, and I felt bad for her. And then Adachi notices that, which were they stealing away Madeline's? Did the Madeleines not cut it? I've watched the series Psycho-Pass. If you've not watched Psycho-Pass, it's on my channel. You should check it out. But there is a long running joke because the little dessert snacks Madeleines are involved in Psycho-Pass. Again, you got to watch to know the capacity. But I had not really had a Madeleine before, and so I thought they were like some French patisserie, like just fancy cake. And I was quickly told by people on Discord from France that they're like, no, those are pretty basic. It's like, what? So then I tried a Madeleine and I was like, this is really basic and it's kind of bland. It's not, unless they're dipped in chocolate or have extra embellishments, they're pretty bland. So when she was walking away with the Madeleines and the tea, I'm like, not sweet enough. So yeah. And so that's when Adachi decides to take action. And Adachi's a nice guy. So the fact that he takes the time to use his ability to help out Kurosawa is freaking cool. And I really love that. And it also is good that we're only in episode 2, but we get to see that Kurosawa is not infallible. Because episode 1, Adachi was like, oh my God, Kurosawa is like the best guy on campus. He's the best guy in the office. He's perfect and everyone loves him and he can do no wrong. Here, we're only in episode 2, but we see that no, Kurosawa is not impermeable. He does have moments where he falters and he does make mistakes or he doesn't know how to read the situation perfectly. So it makes him seem more human, which is great. But then Adachi is like, I'm going to help take care of this. I also like that this manager that works there, the one that got onto Adachi in the last episode, is not going to be like a perpetual villain. The fact that he is like legit trying to help and make the office space okay. Like he's not going to be like, I've watched Agretzko, the first 2 seasons of Agretzko, and in that series, like the main manager sometimes is like a perpetual every week villain. And it's good to know this manager is not going to be like that, right? But yeah, this maroon glasses guy, he gets all in on this. I love him as a side character. And then, yeah, he's the star of the sales department. He rarely screws up. Magenta Glasses Man might be our secret third wheel more than Tsuge. Who knows? We'll have to see. He seems down with all this. But yeah, and then they're like, well, Kurosawa's in a bind and doesn't know the reason. And that's when, for him to be like, the deal is off, like right in front of everybody, in front of my salad, I was like, I don't know Japanese work culture and if this is normal. I would assume that when we have deals with the school that I work in, they are done behind closed doors at like board meetings or like we have cabinet or closed sessions. It's not out in the public airing like dirty laundry and just the tea is served in front of everyone. So that's interesting. I like Adachi being like, let me handle this. And then he uses his power like a damn spy in Mission Impossible to get the goods. And he saves the day. It's really awesome. But then, yeah, the moment that Kurosawa comes back and like leans in and is just like, thank you. Ooh, ooh. I was like, sir, we are at work, but that was justified because he did save the day. Oh, I thought that was amazing. I love that scene so much. And Adachi, of course, is like, I love there's Magenta Glasses Man and Bedhead Man. Like, they're just like, what a great job. And everybody just goes back to work like it's the end of a musical number. And Adachi's just stuck there going, gonna have to work overtime again. I do love when we transition to the bar scene. There's like a little, I talked about in the reaction, there's a little sign that says Shibuya that way and this way. I eventually want to go to Japan. My only fear about Japan is traveling. I can't read Japanese. So that is going to be a tried and true hurdle. Although we have students at our school that are from South America that they have an app on their phone that they can just put it up and take a picture of something in English and it translates it to their language. And I'm like, that's freaking cool. So I'm wondering if it works vice versa, where I can get that app and translate Japanese to English and be able to read it and go, okay, here's where we need to go. That technology needs to be used to help language barriers. I feel like that's a great way to do it. So I'm gonna have to look into that. So if you have suggestions about that, comment down below. But yeah, so they go to dinner, 4 and 4, of course, 4 ladies and 4 guys. I do appreciate for a BL that there is some equality in gender throughout or in sex, because in a lot of BL, there's like a token beard or a token lady, and she's just there. Or she's the love interest that tries to like lure the one of the couple back to heterosexuality. So I'm glad that that's not the case. These ladies are kind of like whatevs. But the one thing that is kind of weird is that the guys all have like pints of beer and the ladies have like these little cocktail flutes. I want one of the girls to have like a pint of beer too and just be chugging it back, like going all in, right? So Adachi ends up saving the day, saves the sale. I like they express how drunk everyone's getting by the blush, which is fun. And then this one magenta-haired girl, she's all about like, let's play a game. Like and she's the one that wants to go to the bars afterwards. There's always a girl or always a guy. There's somebody in every social circle that when you get a giant group of people together, there's always one, at least one, that is the hype person that wants to keep the party going even after everybody else is ready to go home. They're like, we're going to another bar. We're going to go do this. And you're like, nope. So there's always one. And girl in the mint shirt, she is it. So yeah, she's like, we can do this. They got disposable chopsticks. So Adachi says, like, I thought this was a stupid power, but this is the first time I'm glad to have had it. And when he's drinking his beer, he's thinking about that. And Kurosawa's looking at him, just looking very like, Kurosawa loves him. And Kurosawa wants to do so much. And he has such ennui with his expressions. But he's so nice and gentlemanly that he's not going to act on him. He's just going to wait it out. It's great. So then I like this lady's like, I'm the king. I make the rules. And she's like, I decree that number 3 and number 8 must kiss. Number 8's my lucky number. So Adachi getting it, good for him. I love that once Kurosawa says, I'm number 3, everybody's like, oh my God. Magenta Glasses man is very disappointed that he was not. He was like, who's 8? He was I like the one guy looked back at him like, is it you, bro? And then it was Adachi. Now, of course, Kurosawa is internally screaming and holds that poker face so well. Also, for Mint Shirt Lady, Magenta Glasses man is the hype man because he was all about them kissing. He was ready to get the camera out. He was ready to take some voyeuristic videos of it. He was ready. And the other guy's like, oh, ho, 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 ho. Yeah. But he's like, this is my first kiss. What am I going to do? I can't believe it's going to be with Kurosawa. And you can tell he's uncomfortable. And so and of course, Kurosawa drinks a little bit more because he's like, oh, come on, guys. What, are we too drunk? And he's like, liquid courage because he's probably dreamed of this moment. But I'm really glad that the kiss didn't happen. At first, I was like, oh, my God, they're going to kiss. This is amazing. But then I'm like, wait, even if they've been drinking or if Adachi is not fully comfortable, I don't want them to kiss on the lips because it's like not non-consensual, but clearly Adachi for his first kiss needs to be in a headspace where he wants it and he's accepting and he's excited. Here, he's so anxious and nervous that if it was his first kiss, he wouldn't get out of it all that he needs. Or what was deserving of him. So I'm glad that Kurosawa, who we know as a person, is super down to kiss Adachi. I love Magenta Glasses man is here for it. And now everybody is too. And he's like, oh, okay. Like, I love that. Also, I love that this friend group, they probably just think it's a joke. Like, that 2 guys are kissing. But I like that they're not instantly opposed to it. I think that's pretty supportive. And I've been in friend circles where it's been instantly disapproved of. And didn't stay in those friend circles for long. But it does happen. So I'm glad they're supportive. But yeah, he goes over to kiss Adachi, and he's like, well, it's just a game. Let's get it over with. But inside, he really wants it, right? The thing is, when he touches Adachi, we don't, as the audience, get to hear what he's thinking. But clearly, Adachi hears something. So Adachi kind of panics when he hears it. So we don't get to know, did Adachi hear, like, Kurosawa going crazy in his head, being like, oh my God, I'm going to kiss him, and then he kind of panicked for a second because he didn't know what to do and he didn't want it to be embarrassing or a disappointment. I wonder if we're going to go back to that moment. We might at some point down the line go back to that moment. But then Kurosawa's like, I don't want to make him feel awkward, so I'll just kiss him on the forehead. What a dream. What an amazing guy. What a guy that did not take advantage of Adachi, did this cute little forehead kiss. That was so sweet. I loved that. And he's like, okay, done. I like the guy with magenta glasses. Like, does the forehead count? Like, bitch, what? And he's like, and I like that he's just like, you can't make people kiss in King's games these days. It's 2025. Let's get with the times. That was really cute. So then he goes out and he's like, I need to get some fresh air. He wanted to kiss him so bad. But he was just like, no, I can't take advantage of him. And that's when he said he was sorry. So again, Adachi going back out, getting in the water and going outside with him. This was shot beautifully. I loved the animation. The lighting of this was great. I loved it. I love them standing next to each other in the lighting. It's beautiful. Here's the thing. If Adachi wasn't attracted to him and didn't want him, I don't think he would have followed him outside. I think he would have just been like, whew, okay, dodge that bullet and just went on with life. But that's not what he wants. So, and I like that Kurosawa tries to frame it as, oh, hey, I'm sorry if I made you uncomfortable. I probably drank too much. That's all. It's no big deal. Don't worry about it. And that's when he gives him the water and he's like, here you go. So they stand next to each other. And of course, that's when he hears, again, I feel like whatever was going through Kurosawa's time, through his mind when he was about to kiss Adachi, they didn't show us. I feel like that's going to be brought up later on again. It's going to come back later. Maybe as a justification for how Adachi feels about him, whatever. But yeah, so Kurosawa thought he got lucky. But considering how stiff he got, he must not be into men. Which is really sad that that's what Kurosawa thought. He thought that his anxiousness and nervousness was him not being attracted, but he didn't take into consideration that Adachi was just super nervous and didn't want to do it wrong or didn't know how to feel. Again, it's a good justification that we can't always know what the other person is thinking unless we talk about it, which communication happens in this episode, and Romania is super excited about that because I love the fact that they communicated. I was like, yes, talk it out. Talk it out. Talk about your feelings. Talk about your emotions. And also, I'm just going to say, judging by the backsides of them in this episode, I'm going to take a wild guess at who's top and who's bottom. I could be wrong, but I don't think I am. So yeah. So he's just like, nobody wants to do that. He basically tries to give Adachi an out, being like, oh, hey, bro, no homo, right? So it's cool. We're all good, right? And then says he's sorry, which I'm glad Adachi didn't accept that. I'm glad Adachi was like, I didn't say it was a problem. I was just thrown off by the fact that my first kiss was happening right now and I didn't have time to prepare. And it's with somebody who's super hot and nice like you. And then when he says, I'm sorry for falling in love with you, here's the thing. Adachi could have let it go. Adachi could have taken that moment if he really didn't like Kurosawa and he really didn't want to be in a relationship with him. That could have been his out. Because Kurosawa's like, I'm sorry I fell in love with you. He could have been like, okay, yeah, no, I'm not into guys. And could have left it at that. And Kurosawa would have probably just stopped being around him and stopped doing it. But Adachi was like, that's not how I feel. It reminds me a lot of Zariah Ranmu's one-shot Liquor and Cigarettes, which is a BL, God, the illustrations are gorgeous. But the main character, Fee, in that series, he questions his sexuality a lot. And without spoiling much, by the end of the series, he kind of, comes to a same crux in the road that Adachi does. And he has to make a decision, kind of like Adachi does here. And there's a squirrel outside, and that's why Huckleberry is going crazy. There's literally a squirrel that lives outside of my home, and Huckleberry has been just belligerent about him being there, and they just can't be friends. So yeah, but no, that's when he says, I didn't mind. And Kurosawa's like, at that point, you opened the floodgates, sir. The moment you said you didn't mind, Kurosawa, like the record scratched, he pressed rewind and was like, what did you just say? And Adachi's like, it didn't bother me. I just, and I'm glad that Adachi carried on the conversation from that point. Not only did he say I was fine with it, he's like, a man kissing me doesn't bother me, which is huge. But I'm so glad that Adachi explains, he's like, it was my first kiss. I was really nervous. I wanted this to be a special moment. I didn't expect my first kiss to be because of a truth or dare game. And so that's why I was acting all stiff. Like, to give Kurosawa context. He's like, it surprised me, but I didn't mind it. And so then he goes into the explanation talking about how he's not experienced. And Kurosawa seems surprised that he's not experienced, which is, he wasn't going to laugh at him. He probably thought that Adachi was experienced. He's like, he says, as you can see, I'm not very popular. And Kurosawa, we don't get his reaction to that moment, but he tells him he doesn't have any romantic experience. Now, when he says that, Kurosawa's like, so my thing is, I don't know if Kurosawa has any experience either, which, Adachi thinks he's this guy that's probably had all of this action, but maybe not. And Kurosawa's probably like, okay, cool, we're in the same boat. Oh my God, we're in the same boat. Oh, this could work. I'm attracted to this. Like, Kurosawa is all about it. And he's like, I was just really nervous or scared. Yeah, I'm so glad they communicate and like go through this. They're just great. And Kurosawa like drops the bottle and everything, which felt very Daokusei. If you've watched Daokusei, the bottle rolling in the water. Again, there are tropes in BL that I was like, yes, get that trope in there. But yeah, Adachi's right. There's no turning back. You have admitted that you're down for this. He's like, well, so, it's not that I hated it. He's basically saying, I'm okay with being with a guy. And I love the wind blowing through Adachi's hair. He looks so beautiful in that moment. Like, Kurosawa looks at him and like the hair flowing out of his eyes. Oh, and he's like, do you understand what that means? That I love that Kurosawa's like, I'm going to pursue you. Are you aware of that? Because I like you. I love Adachi with the hair blowing through his face. It's gorgeous. He looks beautiful. And he's like, I've been thinking about how I feel about Kurosawa. I'm unbothered. I didn't want to see him sad. So he's like, am I okay with this? Now, I am honestly okay that Kurosawa's actions got broken up, because I think he got excited in that moment. And I think he was going to make a move because he was just so over the moon at the idea that Adachi was okay with him dating him or being with him. I think that Kurosawa was going to jump the gun just a wee bit. And luckily, everybody else showed up on the roof to stop him. I love the one guy with the maroon glasses that he's like, there you are. The guy with the maroon glasses is like, oh ho ho. He is the Pei Ming of this BL so far. I also think he's like, yay. He is the only person known to man that would say, yay, the bill. Unless he's not paying for it. Unless he somehow convinced this girl in the mint shirt to pay for it. It's like, what are you guys doing? And they're like, oh, nothing. Let's go pay the bill. And that one girl's like, let's go to another place. And they're like, are you for real? Oh, what was he about to say? That's the question. Now, I also appreciate that, again, Kurosawa, he's like, you could stay at my place. And he's like, I'm not letting him leave tonight. Kurosawa is just like so hyped up on board that Adachi is okay with him. That Adachi's like, whoa now, sir. Whoa now, sir. We're going to take this slow. I don't blame Kurosawa for being excited, because if you just found out that your crush is down with being in a relationship with you, I would be hyped too. But also, I don't think that Kurosawa knows how baby dear Adachi is, and like you gotta hold that food real tenderly in that hand, to lure him into a sense of security. So I am glad that Adachi stood his ground and was like, no, I'm going home. I'm not going back with you, because I'm not gonna. I feel like in that moment when Adachi's like, no, I'm going home tonight. And then, okay, one thing before we get to that moment, the screensaver for the cat and the messaging where the cat says, okay, and Adachi's like, I might have gotten ahead of myself. And Tsuge is like, what are you talking about? What happened? And he's like, I'll ask him the next time I see him. Uh-huh. Also, before we get to that point, I forget that Japan has long form with like the Word document, so it's like long form writing, whereas English is up and down. So it was weird to see that like in that form, but that's really cool. But yeah, so Adachi, the old man sitting in front of or behind Adachi is like, "Did you get that contract to the Alberio company finished? Like, get a room." Like, just God. So yeah. So then he talks about last night, and he says, "When I said I didn't mind, I meant being kissed on the forehead instead of the mouth." I love that because I think Kurosawa is okay with it because Kurosawa gets ahead of himself. He gets over ambitious, but Adachi being this pure-minded, innocent, let's move slowly type, I think that's always more attractive. I think it's always more attractive if you're the type of person that wants to take your time, get to know somebody, and then lead up to that first sexual or romantic encounter. I think that that's much more appealing than somebody. And I'm not saying that there are times where, I'm not saying there aren't times where you just meet somebody. I've not had this experience, but I know people that have, where you just meet somebody and there's just an instant physical connection and you're like, let's just do the damn thing and then we'll get to know each other. It happens all the time and people are fine with it and it works out for a lot of people. But I personally like Adachi's approach of let's get to know each other and not jump the gun and let it lead up and build up to being something that's much more special. And I think that Kurosawa, he kind of blushes in that moment, like, "Oh, you're gonna play hard to get," and maybe Tsuge was right. Maybe Tsuge was right, and that's just totally okay. But yeah, he's like, well, he's behaving like he usually does, but what's Kurosawa thinking? Well, ask and you shall. When you say you're dying over here, ask and you shall receive. Because this Alberio file is apparently pretty important because y'all are getting all up on it. I wondered when he got up next to him and pressed up against him. I can't decide if Kurosawa can knows that Adachi can read his mind and knows that he's thinking the same and knows what he's thinking. I don't know. Or if he just bumped up against him to like do some physical contact because, that's flirting and why not? I can't decide. He's like, I'm glad he doesn't dislike me and I rushed things. I'm glad that Kurosawa is self-aware and understanding that, yeah, he did kind of jump the gun on that. But I don't want to bother him, so I'm going to act normal at the office. Both of them have agreed to act normal at the office, but that moment where he's like, Kurosawa, I never know how to respond, but he really is too good for me. And then that's when he, in that moment, says out loud, thanks. And I was like, did he hear what he said? Can he hear what Adachi is saying? Is he a 30-year-old virgin as well? And he's like, oh, not that. I mean, him saying not that is pretty much being like, no, did he hear you? Did he hear you? Uh-huh. Or was he saying not that and then was telling him to go to another file? We don't know. We don't know. The show's going to tell us, I'm sure, by the end of it, but we don't know. Also, I'm sorry, but the hand over the hand is the most... there is no questioning. The hand over the hand to click on something is one of the most intimate things you can do in a situation like this. I'm sorry, but it is. He said he doesn't have any romantic experience. I'll take my time making sure he falls for me. Ah! Oh man, Adachi. Kurosawa is patient and in it for the long haul. Mm-hmm. Oh. Meanwhile, everybody's just walking by like nobody notices. They're like, oh, they're just helping each other out. You better believe Magenta Man, if he saw, he would be freaking out. Or they're just ignoring it. Or they just all are aware that those two need to bone and they're just ignoring it. Probably that. If Kurosawa can hear what Adachi is saying, if he can, then him saying what a terrifyingly persistent stud. Ooh. Yeah. And then we have the ED, which is super cute. This series, we're only 2 episodes in, And we've gotten so much, and I understand now why y'all want me to watch this because it's so damn good. I'm just like, so yes. I'm super excited to hear your comments. I'm excited to hear YouTube's comments for episode 1. I'm excited to hear Patreon's comments for episode 2. I will definitely check those out before I watch episode 3, because I want to savor this series, obviously. But oh my God, y'all. I'm super excited to see what's going to happen next week. I hope you all are as well. But in the meantime, I hope you all have a wonderful week. Please stay safe, take care, and I'll see you all very soon with more of Cherry Magic. Bye.